Hey everyone, we're talking about how to be yourself in public speaking situations. My name is Kit Pan, the founder of BostonSpeaks, and I am here with the one and only in the world, amazing Gina Rapaport, our head public speaking coach at BostonSpeaks. Hey Gina.
Everyone. Hey, what's up? Hey, Kit. Good to be here.
Okay, so the topic of the day is how to be yourself in public speaking situations. And we actually came up with this, I think, a few weeks ago. I was asking Gina, what should we talk about? And Gina suggested this topic. And why? Why, Gina? Why did this topic come up, do you think?
Yeah, I find that a lot of my clients bring this up as a point of contention. It's something that people find challenging, and I still find it challenging sometimes. So I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it'll be helpful.
Okay, so when we talk about how to be yourself in public speaking situations, why don't we give our definitions of what kind of like being yourself means
Yeah.
in speaking situations?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go first. So I would say to me, being authentic, being yourself when you're speaking is about being comfortable. It's about removing the mask that I think we wear around, especially at work a lot of the time. I think it's about being present, being in the moment, right? So, not like, let's say you're having a conversation, we often want to prep our response instead of just listening to the other person, right? So, sometimes it can be hard, but like tapping into the moment. I think it's also about not shoulding yourself. Like, I should sound like this. I should use big words. I should blah, blah, blah. And rather just, leaning into who you are in your communication style. And even if you're nervous, maybe letting those nerves just be as well.
Hmm. And I would say my definition of being yourself is when you're in your speaking situations, can you be your weird, nerdy self that can be nerdy? I'm just using the word nerdy, because it feels like I could be myself, kind of like geeking out on certain things in that particular speaking situation that you're in, usually with people that you are close with. So that would be my quick definition of kind of like being yourself in these speaking situations.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
think you're actually so good at this. Like Kit is definitely the master at being himself. Um, I've just always noticed that. You are nerdy and you show your cats and you're like so silly and you obsess over filler words and all these things that I think just make me feel like even in our first interview, right? When you interviewed me for this job, I remember feeling like, oh, this guy is just who he is. And that was actually a big reason why I wanted to take the job.
I felt the same with you, but I feel personally, I think I can be myself more in public speaking situations. That sounds weird. Uh, than maybe even one-on-one situations. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all can, right? Like even you and I are public speaking coaches. We're not perfect by any means, and I think I tend to put on the mask sometimes. Like if I'm facilitating a really big training and it's for employees and I tell myself, "Uh-oh, this is some big fancy thing," and I have to, look like I'm my big fancy self versus just relaxing. And so like for me, if I'm giving a training like that, sometimes I'll start as Professor Gina, as I call it, and then I'll like slip back into myself.
So what's the difference between Professor Gina and slip back to yourself?
Yeah. So let me just quick tell the story about Professor Gina, which is that I've told this before, but when I was first teaching public speaking, I was doing these 8-hour classes and I was given a script basically of like, okay, here's the class, like basically memorize this, or that's what I was interpreting. I don't think I was really supposed to, but I was a perfectionist. So I was like, okay, I have to like memorize this script. And I remember I was rehearsing it in front of my manager at the time, and he was like, "Okay, like you nailed the content, but can you just like be yourself?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You're being Professor Gina. Like I feel like you're wearing your blazer. Like you don't have to be that way. You can just like talk how you normally talk." And I was like, I didn't even realize I was doing it, but once he said that, like what really the moment that hit was when he said, "Can you just talk how you would talk to me if we were just having a conversation?" And that like really hit me because I realized I was slipping into this Professor Gina. Now, as far as like what does that look like? It's probably the tone of my voice. It's probably I wasn't smiling as much. And it was probably more of like a na 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 na. You know what I'm saying? Like just more scripted feeling.
Do you feel like you had to be, or you put on Professor Gina because you needed to appear a certain way, or you wanted a certain way to go as a speaker when the audience listens to you, if that makes sense?
Yes, I think the thought behind Professor Gina was probably like, I have to be perfect. I think it was actually that I was so focused on memorizing the content. And so, really, the fear I think was I have to say everything perfectly. So much of my energy was focused on like saying the right words that I just couldn't even relax. And so, therefore, I was like kind of more stiff.
Mm. And so, how did you start breaking back to yourself again? Is this remembering to have a conversation? So how do you think you you can make the switch
Yeah,
to?
I think it's important for anyone who feels like they do have trouble being themselves in speaking situations to ask yourself, what is the thought I'm telling myself around how I'm supposed to show up here? Maybe it's like let me ask you, what do you think are some potential thoughts that someone might be having that would turn them into that stiff, unauthentic self?
I would say it could be I have to get this really, really, really right. I can't mess up. There's a lot on the line. This has to turn out really, really good. So I need to do it a certain way. Some of those things.
Yeah, totally.
But back to you though. How do you go from Professor Gina to Gina? Like,
You mean like the overtime transformation or like a momentary transformation?
I guess both. How do you know? How do you know? How do you can flip
Yeah,
them?
I would say like it's obviously the mindset work, right? It all comes back to mindset. So it was like the years of the mindset work, I would say. It was the modeling. It was like even seeing how you show up. Like so Kit, if anyone watching this has not seen the confident speaker method or any of Kit's like webinars or recorded videos, that was so powerful to me because you don't show up very like professory in those videos, Kit. Like you're doing looms, you're like in a whiteboard, you have like weird angles, like some of it you're like filming it on your phone. And I remember thinking, this is amazing because I feel so much more connected to you because you're not like perfect high production, lighting, blazer, all of that. So I think seeing that modeled from you and from other people in the field, like seeing that modeled is like a big reminder of like, oh yeah, I don't want to be this scripted, like stiff person. It's actually way more powerful because you create connection when you're just yourself and when you're not being perfect. And so then as far as like, how do I switch it? Because like I said, I still get into professor mode sometimes is if I'm mindful about it, I will watch like a stand-up comedy video or something that reminds me that like life isn't so serious, right? We take ourselves so seriously. And when I can just get myself in that like silly mode, I love watching like Amy Poehler, like Tina Fey or something like that to just be like, oh yeah, why am I trying to be so serious? That really helps me.
Love it. Okay, we're gonna take a break for our sponsor. So we have a sponsor, Gina, and our sponsor is Boston Speaks, of course. And so if you are someone that is looking to overcome your speaking anxiety and speak with greater confidence, come chat with us at bostonspeaks.com/call. And so again, if you're looking to overcome speaking anxiety and speak with greater confidence, get on a call with us because we are sure to help you out. Okay, that's it for our sponsor break. Um, what's next? What's next, Gina?
Well, I was just gonna say that I think people are really yearning for authenticity these days. Like I was thinking about TikTok versus Instagram, right? And I'm not on Instagram, so I think maybe Instagram's changed over time, but Instagram to me seems like it was way more curated. Like people were trying to post, like, look at my perfect life kind of thing. And then you look at TikTok and it's like someone like eating food or doing their makeup and talking in their bathrobe about like they are migraines or whatever it is, right? And people are so into it. And so I think that's just like a good reminder that people are craving and yearning for the realness and the authenticity. And it's not, people don't always want to see that super polished perfection. Like for me, if I'm watching a TED talk, like I know TED talks, you know, they get so many hours of training and they're supposed to look super polished. But for me, if I'm watching a TED talk and the person is like super like no filler words, like no personality. I just can't even watch it.
Mm, mm. Oh, Gina, I think when you came on board on Boston Speaks, one of the reasons I was compelled to you is because I started watching your TikTok videos and you were just basically yourself. I'm like, oh, Gina is a must-have on the team because I saw your personality through there, and I think, well, what about in organizations and work settings? Because I feel like we are public speaking coaches. I'm speaking for myself personally because we're doing our own, like business, our own thing. I feel like it's easier for me to be my own self because I don't have a boss. If I screw up, I'll probably never see the people again. Rather than people in organizations, they have to see the people over and over again. So that's why I feel like sometimes it's so much easier. Again, when we're running our own business, it's like we can just be ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not attached to an organization.
For sure, for sure. I think though there's a misconception that professionalism and authenticity are mutually exclusive. Like you can be very professional, you can sound intelligent, all that, and still be yourself. So what does that look like? That could be the way your voice is, like your vocal tonality, that could be your gestures, that could be telling a personal story. You could be in a business meeting and tell a personal story. That's actually a very strategic move right there, right? But that sort of keeps you authentic. Unless telling stories is not authentic to you, then don't do that, right? But yeah, I think you can be both.
What about if we're being ourselves and people don't like it? Some parts of it. They're like, nitpicking this. You're telling story too much, or maybe you're being too direct, and we're just being ourselves. Or maybe we talk fast, and everyone says you talk too fast. Like normally, you talk too fast, or whatever, or talk too slow, and everyone else around us is saying you talk too slow. You need to talk faster, or vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think there's a line between like a speaking style versus if someone just can't understand you. Like if you're talking so fast that people are unable to understand you, then I would say, yeah, take that as some feedback and maybe work on it because that's like strategic, right? But if you're just speaking in a way and some people don't like it, I think at the end of the day, right, we all know this, we can't control what other people think. And I heard someone talk about this once. I really liked the way they described it about authenticity. They said, being the most authentic version of you in your expression, like right, speaking, expressing, I don't know, how you dress, all that, is like a magnet. It either like the more yourself you are, the stronger your tribe, your people, whatever, will gravitate towards you. And the quicker you will repel the people who aren't meant to be your people. And I thought that was so powerful. It was like, oh yeah, like it would behoove me to be so authentic that I just attract more people who actually like me or actually resonate with my energy. And what's the word? Yeah. Push away people. Yeah, repel, push away people who don't, right? That's what we all want. And obviously at work, like you have to work with certain people, but we don't always have to be liked by our colleagues. You can still be civil, right? I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it goes to the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think I think for me, when I was truly myself, well, this is one of the experiences. I forgot if I told you. I think I told you already. So there was a time I was hosting so this place called Color Magazine hosts an annual gala event every single year for some of the top people in Boston of color, and they gathered all of the top executives in one room, and for professional development, to meet each other. And they asked me once to host the event one year, and so they gave me a script as the moderator. Gave me a script. So the first year, I just read the script verbatim. Here's who this person is. Here's who we are.
And then luckily they asked me again the second year. So the first year I felt like, if I was saying this myself for the script, I would not say exactly like what they were saying. So the second year, I'm like, they gave me a script again, and I was thinking, I want to do a good job. Okay, I'll do the script again. And then on the third year, they invited me again, and eventually they gave me a script again. And on that night I remember making a decision, kind of like 5 minutes before the whole event started, and I said, this script is not me. I've been doing this for 2 years already. I know the lay of the land,
Yeah.
but it seems like the script is just written just to be written, and so I decided to add in my style in
Mhm.
there because it's not the first time I hosted an event.
Mhm.
So I made a decision. I said I'm gonna do it my style. If they don't like it, then we'll see what happens. And so I would go to the keynote speaker of the evening, and I said to her, "Hey, do you have anything on your bio that's not written, on the paper bio that I can tell the audience?" And she said, "Oh, she likes to go salsa dancing." And so when I was on stage, I said, "Hey," I mean, this is what I would do at my own event. So I said, "Hey, did you know our keynote speaker? I just read her bio, but this one thing you all did not know, it was that she loves to do salsa dancing. Who wants to see her salsa dance right now with me?" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we want to go, we want to go." So that's one example.
You didn't tell her that you were going to do that?
I didn't even tell her I was going to do that.
Oh my gosh, I would have been so pissed at you.
I told her when I'm on stage. Then and then later on, I just started like doing stuff a little bit my way, and it felt more freeing and relaxing, and I can see people gravitate towards that.
So you're saying it was a success. Year 3 was a success?
Yes.
Wouldn't that have been funny if she lied about salsa dancing?
We'll see. We'll see the truth.
That is so funny. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another. Sorry, I'm just having all these stories come to me now. But
yeah, can you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just saying, can you think of any clients that you've worked with that where you supported them on speaking more authentically and how that impacted them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And if you have any, please do share as well. Let me think.
I can share mine while you think.
Yes, okay, share yours first.
Okay, so mine is the one that's coming to mind is like I had a client who was in sales and he was very, he came to us for speaking nerves and he was really concerned with being polished and like coming off as smart. That was his concern. That was his fear-based thinking. Like, I want to sound smart. And that sort of put him into his version of Professor, whatever his name is. I'm not going to say his name. And then we sort of analyzed what would it take to be successful in your job, right? Because I was asking like, well, why do you want to be smart? And it was ultimately like to be successful at my job in sales. And so then we analyzed like, what does it really mean to be successful in your job at sales? And what he realized was it's so much more about relationships and building trust than sounding smart. And how do you build trust in relationships? Be yourself. And so once he had that like light bulb moment of, oh, to be the most successful in my job, all I have to do is be myself. It was like this weight off of him, I think. And he sort of gave himself permission to not think he had to be in this box of like sounding like some smart guy. Not that he wasn't smart, right? But like speaking to sound smart versus just being himself. And so that was really powerful to me to witness that.
Yeah. And I think your story sparked a story that I have. I think sometimes when we share tips, other people start saying this to me more. Like, "Hey, oh, maybe you guys share something," and that helped me be more of myself. I don't know sometimes what we say, but this one lady, she said she was an actor, and so she would always be scripted and memorized because she feels like she always has to be, scripted and memorized. And so I think it was something that we talked about, and something clicked in her and said, "Yeah, when I go into meetings or go to situations, I don't always have to be scripted and memorized. I can be in the moment more and just see what happens, basically." And so I feel like kind of like what you're saying, there's a lot of people who want to sound smart, who wants to do it right. Of course they prepared and scripted. But I feel like when we're planning all of that, we lose the moments for being in the moment, which is when our true selves also come out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Another thing I think about with authenticity is, bottom line, it makes you more likable. Right? So whether you're in an interview situation or just working with your colleagues, I think, not that we need to be likable, but I just think the more authentic we are, the more, I don't know, I just find that to be true. I have this friend, Tim, who I talk about all the time. Thank you, Tim, if you're watching this, which I know you're not, but if you ever do see this, I talk about Tim all the time because he's such a great story. Anyway, my friend Tim, he is one of the most gregarious, kind, funny humans I've ever met. He's the kind of guy where if I take him to a restaurant, he will like collect friends on the way and leave somehow with like new people's phone numbers, and it's totally platonic, just all these friends. And I've always, I asked him, well, what is your mindset in these situations? And he's like, oh, just to, my mindset in social situations is to make other people feel comfortable and so I can get to know them. In other words, he doesn't, when he's around other people, he's not thinking, how do I look? What should I do? Do I look this? He's not self-conscious. He's just totally like outward focused. And therefore he's so authentic because he's not hyper vigilantly analyzing how he shows up. He just is himself because he's just focused on other people. And it just makes him so likable.
Yeah, I think that's a great thought. Remembering to focus on others, and keeping that in focus. I think some people. Do you think some people have that more naturally?
For sure, absolutely. But I think we can, if it's something that, if someone's watching this and they're like, I'm not that kind of person, but I want to be, I think you can absolutely work toward it.
Yeah. So yes, again, if you are watching this and you are loving this conversation Gina and I are having, and you're looking to work on your speaking or overcome speaking anxiety, speak with greater confidence, come chat with us. BostonSpeaks.com/call. And so one of the main things we help people with is public speaking anxiety. Becoming a better speaker. And I was sharing with Gina today how we're going to end this. And I said, maybe we'll let it come to a natural pause somehow. Are we at that natural pause right now? You think so? You think so?
I do.
Okay, you end it.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely hop on a call. Even if you're just like 1% curious, we love what we do. We help people every day on their speaking, and we'd love to chat with you. So book a call and have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.